This is a 2025 Toyota Crown Signia, and Toyota is lying to us all. What is up, everybody? This is Brian, the Toyota guy over here at Fred Anderson Toyota in Asheville, North Carolina. And yeah, today we're gonna spend a few minutes with a 2025 Crown Signia, which is gonna be a journey because I am curious, like I've done with my previous Crown video, to know how many people know what this car is. This is gonna be another round of Toyota buyers having no clue what this thing is, which means it's gonna be a slow burn to start, and I think it's gonna be a great selling car in the long run. So let's go ahead and talk about this car and how weird it is and try to figure out exactly where it places in Toyota's lineup. All right, here it is, 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. This is gonna be the second Toyota Crown that we've got here in the States. Toyota Crown is a pretty new namesake for us here, but it is not new for the rest of the world. They've had the Toyota Crown in different versions and iterations for years, to include some really high-end kind of estate vehicles. Crown is a new marquee for the North American market. They technically, I think, sold a Crown back in like the 70s and 80s, but honestly, nobody ever remembers those cars. It's kind of like the Coronas and some of the other things they used to have back in the day. And this is very much up with the Toyota styling. I mean, as we're kind of looking around and checking out the looks and the design aspects of this car, I'm seeing a lot of Toyota design language from their current lineup here. So with that grille, for better or for worse, this is kind of a new look that they're going for, where it's kind of has this like melting effect, where you can see there's the open holes here, and it kind of melts or melds into the rest of the bumper line. That is straight out of the new Camrys, which is interesting because they don't have this on the regular Crown, but that's straight out of the Camrys, and I'm sure that means it's going to be more Toyotas that'll have that type of design to it. The headlights and this kind of hammerhead shark appearance is a direct reference to the new Priuses that have an almost identical shape to the headlights. In some ways, some of the Corollas have had kind of an inverted version of that headlight with that kind of looks like a check mark or parentheses look. Interestingly enough, I only learned this from watching other people's videos, but what you see on right now, where the normal headlights would be up in this area, these are not headlights. Those are daytime running lights, or accent lights, whatever you want to call them. The actual headlights for the car are built into the bumpers right here, where you would typically have your fog lights in a car. This is not the first car to do this, maybe the first Toyota to do this potentially, but some of the other vehicles I've seen out there, I think Hyundais and even some Nissans have gone for a similar look. We're in the middle of the daytime, but it's gonna be hard to tell. But you can see now that the headlights are on. So I'm not exactly sure how that works with the low beams and the high beams. Let's take a look, because I'm guessing it's all in one housing. High beams are now on. And it looks like it really just changes the angle of the lights, or maybe there's a little bit more illumination. There's no additional lights that come on. So no fog lights, it's basically just the lights built in there. But, and so that means that really these are just these LED strip lights. And then just to kind of give it the look, there is this funky gap right here. So you can actually see it is part of the headlight housing. So this right here is the bumper. You can see it moves around. And this, I don't even know if I should be calling it the headlight, but this driving light comes all the way around and just has a gloss black plastic thing here. It honestly, to me, kind of is reminiscent of some of the 80s cars, like the 300ZX and some other versions that would have pop-up headlights. I think even, I'm trying to think if some Corvettes had a weird little recess behind the headlights there. I have no clue if there's some sort of aerodynamics advantage. My guess is that it's just kind of a styling cue. It's just something that, to make it kind of look cool. I think it does look good. Other people are going to think this car is ugly, and I'd love to hear you guys, duke it out in the comments, because this is going to be a polarizing vehicle. Honestly, I think the rest of the Toyota buyers are confused at who this is for. So MSRP on this vehicle is around $48,000, and this is the XLE, which is basically the base model for the Crown Signia. But in Toyota's infinite wisdom, even though this is an XLE, I cannot stand their XLE trim, because every XLE Toyota comes with different standard features, different packages. There's absolutely no carryover, and this car takes it the absolute next step. So as we go over here and look at the window sticker, and I'll show you the features when we go inside the car. So you can see, Crown Signia. We'll talk about that name here in a second as well. Here's the standard equipment. Here's the manufacturer accessories, you know, stuff that's done at the plant. And if we look at what's standard on here, we'll talk about it when we get inside here, but you've got a 12.3 inch screen. So you've got almost the largest screen you can get standard. You've got heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, and heated steering wheel. And again, this is on the XLE. There is no weather package that gets that. There's no added things on here. Now we do have some port accessories on here, you know, roadside assistance, paint protection film, everybody's favorite things. So you can see MSRP on this is $48,176. So this is a well, let's just call it a $50,000 car. And Toyota is calling this the Crown Signia. And the reason why I want to talk about that name is I cannot find the word Signia anywhere on this car. For those that are paying attention or been doing their research, I don't think it exists. We've got our Toyota badge up front, which probably can be blacked out. If we open up the doors where the door sills are, it says Toyota Crown. The floor mats say Toyota Crown. The back of the car, the rear badging says Crown, XLE, high efficiency vehicle, all-wheel drive. There is nothing on this car that says Signia. I would have totally thought they would have had some sort of like funky little Signia, something like signature, you know, kind of like Toyota's done with their older, you know, kind of high-end cars. But they have not put the word Signia anywhere on this, with the exception of the window sticker. And when I paired my phone up, it technically shows up in my phone as a Crown Signia. But why I'm talking about that is because Toyota really, and it's not just Toyota, it's all brands. If you use the word or the term station wagon, quote unquote, out of context, I don't know. It's like all the groups have said that a station wagon is not desirable, but crossover or SUV is. So what Toyota wants everybody to think is that this is a crossover. Now, from my understanding, overseas, this is called the Crown Estate, which in overseas markets, Estate has always been the wagon. They make an M3 Estate. They make all kinds of things in the Estate version as a station wagon, but they cannot use that term Estate here because for whatever reason, the function groups have all got together and said that's a bad term. But why I bring that up is because this is just it's not an SUV. And I'm not upset with that. There's a lot of good things to talk about this car. I'm actually really happy with this car, minus the price tag. But everything that this car does, it does really well. So I say this is not an SUV. So I am 6'3", and if I hold my phone up to about my chest level, chin level, you can see the roof is right here. So let me show you what I mean. So here I am. Again, I'm 6'3", and I am having to basically raise the phone up here. If I hold it level, you can really see how low the roof is of this car compared to how tall that I am. This is a very low slung, low roof car. I almost feel like I could compare this the closest in its shape and size to a Subaru Forester. And Subaru also does not want to use the term station wagon either anymore. They will call it a crossover, they'll call it an SUV, they'll call it everything but a station wagon. I think the Outback might be the only one that's like cool enough to be considered a station wagon. But the Forester, which is basically just a shorter, taller version of the Outback, they consider a crossover. I don't know. This is a station wagon. If we call it a station wagon, I think everything is better. All right, so now that we're all on the same page that this is a station wagon, I want to tell you why I'm not upset about that. This car is extremely functional. It is a $50,000 two-row car, which is, again, maybe why they're trying to call us the Crown Signia. I don't know. I don't want to belabor that enough. But what I really love about this is you can see right now I've got the middle seat down, or at least part of it down. This is a extremely deep, like huge cavernous space in here. I am 6'3", and Toyota's done this weird little trick. So you can already tell, I don't know the cargo dimensions right offhand, but if you look at just the sheer distance from the inside of the hatch here all the way up to the rear seats, it definitely looks almost about the same size as what a Highlander would be, but with the third row down. And underneath of the floor here, there's not a ton of space, but you still have a little bit of extra like little pockets and organizers and, you know, things that you can store around in there that you don't want rolling around. But for most people, this is a huge trunk area. Like for 4 to 5 people to travel in here, there's no way you would not be able to fit everybody's stuff back here. Just how long and boxy this is. Even these really nice kind of deep cargo areas here. There's like a first aid kit from Toyota, and you can see it's like designed to basically fit right up in there. And honestly, while I'm back here, I was not expecting to talk about this. They have definitely stepped up all of the interior build quality, like the materials that are used, because this is a stupid soft material. I was not expecting to talk about the inside of the hatchback of the Crown in such a way, but that's a very premium. God, it feels like animal fur or something like that. It's just bizarre how soft that is. This just feels like regular carpet, of course, but that is really soft to the touch. And I bring that up because it's on the back of the seats and everything too. But they've done this weird little party trick, and Toyota's been kind of having fun with things like this. This little thing right here, if you've not seen the marketing material already, is a fold-out like storage extender. So when you put this out all the way, it's pretty well supported. I don't exactly know what kind of weight you could safely put on that. And it looks like for the most part, there's like a tiny amount of weight that's held up by the headrest, but most of it is on this hinge, and it feels like a pretty thick and sturdy hinge. But what I want to point out with this is, again, I am 6'3", and here we go. If I climb all the way up in here, and I am, we're doing this for you guys. If I get in here, if I lay perfectly flat, if you see my feet here, my feet are not in danger of being in the way of the hatchback. They literally fit right inside the lead, the ledge, the lip, the whatever I'm trying to say there. And I've done it with the hatch closed. I can certainly fit in here. So for those that are kind of interested in maybe car camping or something like that, you know, there is a ton of room for 2 people to kind of lay in here and be comfortable. And it's surprising to say that, because that's kind of what you would do with a station wagon. It's something like that. And you wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for this little extender here. And I'm pretty confident that if I was to sleep in here, I could easily throw a pillow right here. It's nice and flat. There's nothing that's really like poking out. There's nothing sharp or hard that's in the way. I could easily throw a pillow right here, throw a sleeping bag or a blanket back here, and completely pass out and, you know, take a little rest. Or if nothing else, I could certainly just keep all my stuff stored. But so the cargo area is huge. Oh, let's not lock that thing. Here we go. So now let's talk about the rear seat room. So I'll actually go ahead and get behind the driver's seat, because I've already got my seat up front adjusted for me. Again, using myself as the example here. Again, I am 6'3", and again, there is just a ton of room back here. The floor is huge. I have pretty big feet, you know, size 12-ish shoe, and there's tons of room for me to put my feet underneath the chair. I am nicely reclined. My knees aren't even close to touching the seat here. It's very comfortable. The seats are perforated leather back here, Softex. Armrest is right here at the right level. You can see I've got air vents and phone chargers back here. It looks like a really nice Lexus or car back here. Tons of room. Could you fit 5 in here? Yes, there are seat belts for 5, but obviously 4 I think is gonna be the sweet spot for room in here. So it kind of puts this right around, you know, buyers that are maybe shopping for, I don't know, like a Tesla or Volkswagen CC or something like that. So now that we're up in the front, again, I want to jump back to the fact that this is an XLE, and I keep talking about this, but I'm just so confused with Toyota and kind of how they're doing this XLE trim model. I just don't understand why that doesn't seem to have any merit to them. They could just put XLE on everything, and it just means that it's their like more budget price point. I don't get it, because again, this is the base model Crown. So this is exactly how they come until you get into the higher trim models. And if we look around here, there's hardly any blanks. Everything is pretty fully featured in here. Here's that 12.3-inch display. It's got Toyota's same system as on all their other cars, wireless, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can see my stuff is going to connect on there already. Works really well. I've talked about this in other videos. I think it's a good system. Toyota is coming out with a way to basically go in and out of full screen on this, but that's another conversation. But if we look here at the climate control, ventilated seats, heated seats for both driver and passenger. You have an auto heated steering wheel now, as well as just a 2-stage heated steering wheel. So if you want to do it yourself, you can have 2 stages, or if you leave it on auto, it'll basically warm up the steering wheel as needed with the HVAC. So if it's cold in the morning, it'll detect that and warm it up so you don't have to do anything. Again, this is a base model. This is the cheap Crown Signia, if you will. Of course, all your safety features are standard. Here's all your self-driving, kind of your adaptive cruise, your lane centering. You can see you can adjust your modes here. This already has the full digital display. So like on some Toyotas, you have to get a higher package to get the better screen here. Otherwise, it just has a small screen in the middle, and the rest of it's just basically physical gauges. But this is the XLE, and it has a full digital display, which I love, because in these newer Toyotas that have the full digital display, you can now have 3 different combinations of screen modes. So depending on what it is you want to look at, if you want to see fuel economy and driving info, if you want to see navigation or, you know, hybrid system stuff or music or whatever, and each one of these 3 little sections can be personalized and customized to be exactly what you want it to be. So again, that is in the base model XLE. If we look over here, we've got the de-icers, the defrosters, whatever you want to call them, for the bottom of the windshield for the wipers. And I don't know why they need it in the Crown Signia, but these are headlight adjusters, which makes a bit more sense when we're talking about like a Tacoma or a 4Runner, or maybe you're going to put some load on, it's going to squat the vehicle. But maybe just for those that want to have that extra adjustability, I don't know, there you go, you can adjust it. You also have headlight washers. Again, this is a base model XLE Toyota, and it's got more stuff in it that sometimes even a base model Lexus does. Memory seats. This dashboard design is pulled straight out of the regular Crown. Very nice leather wrap steering wheel. All of the same buttons as used to in all the Toyotas. You've got the same kind of shifter as what we've got now in the Prius and in the Crown. It's been around for a little bit. It's kind of this weird little thing where you have to go up and over to get into reverse, and then down and back into drive, or there's like this technically like a sport mode. I don't know who's asking for it, but there is a sport mode here. But this center console and the way everything touches and feels is great. When I did my Crown video, I had nothing but good things to say about the interior of that car, and I still agree with my evaluation on the interior of this car. I think the button layout is perfect. You have physical controls for all of your HVAC. So if you still don't want to use your auto and you just want to adjust things manually, you can totally do that. You don't have to touch the screen at all. If you want to adjust your heated seats and heated steering wheel, you don't have to touch the screen. Buttons over here are nicely placed and kind of tucked up in. They're not just randomly on the dashboard. Even these, for like your gas and your hatch, are somewhat out of the way, so not even really in view. Just the design of how everything is kind of integrated into the doors, the leather or the soft touch materials that are everywhere on the dashboard, on the center console, around the center console, around the phone charger. Everything is really nice. This is not a gloss black around the shifter. It's close, but it's still not piano black. It's kind of like a metallic gray, which I do think is going to be better in the long run for scratches and scuffs and things like that. So it's like they're listening. And then there is this really trick center console, so you can open it from either side. So they've done this on the regular Crown as well, but you can see you can open it up from the driver's side, and you can see there's like a little hinge where it sticks into there, or you can open it up from the passenger side and get the same access, which I think is just really smart. It's very comfortable, very well supported. Again, it feels like a car in here, and I can't get on board with calling this a crossover when the center console is taller, the storage, the driving, which I'll get into here in a minute. Everything about this drives like a car, and that's a good thing. It handles well. It's got good power. It's got good fuel efficiency. We're getting, you know, about 38 to 39 miles per gallon in this thing, fully loaded. It's just not an SUV. I think really my only 2 gripes of the interior on this car, I think that everything is built really solid. If you've watched my Prius videos, I've tried to go around and show you where I feel like there's some cheapness, or maybe it wasn't the Prius, it might have been the Camry, but the center console in the Camry right over here felt very flimsy, like there's nothing actually supporting the weight of the center console. But honestly, everything in this car feels really solid. It has a good heft to it. Everything feels great. My only real 2 complaints, and I've had this complaint with other Toyotas, is for whatever reason, up here on the top of the dashboard, it's different. So right over here, you've got this really nice like rubbery material, which I'm hoping doesn't like start to crack apart in about 10 years, but it's like a nice rubber, which is maybe like a crash test thing you have to have. But up here, it's this really flat plastic, and I don't know if it's gonna show up on video, but as I'm just rubbing my hand on here, because it has this rough contour, it just kind of scratches and scuffs easily. And I don't know if it's actually scratching or scuffing, or if it's literally just leaving dust and dead skin cells behind. But when I'm sitting back behind here, and I just don't know if it's gonna show up well enough in the video, you can kind of see a little bit of haziness, but it just looks very dirty, even though it's clean. And I'm guessing this panel gets removed for the cars that have the heads-up display. And so at least they don't have like this massive blank hole where the heads-up display would be on a higher trim. But I still wish that they would put that same kind of rubbery material here, there, but I don't know. There must be some regulatory reason why it can't be that way. But my second gripe with the interior is the sound system. So I'm gonna talk about it more when I'm driving, but it's an okay sound system. It sounds fine for most people, but for a $50,000 car, I don't think it's great. Another fantastic thing about the interior space on these Crowns is the headroom, honestly. So even though this is like kind of more of in the station wagon thing, this car does not have a sunroof. I believe there is an option for that on the higher trim models, and it's probably a pano sunroof or a fixed glass. I'm sorry, I don't know that right off the top of my head right now. But without any of that stuff built in here, I have a ton of headroom here, both in the back seat and in the front seat. So again, kind of just getting back to the functionality of this car, this has no drawbacks of a car. Oh, there we go. So here I am back in the driver's seat, and there's just like a ridiculous amount of headroom. I can certainly move the seat up and seat down, and there's tons of room in here. I don't feel cramped at all. It's a really nice interior. So while this does have memory seats, one thing that I do think is a miss is that this still has a manual adjusted steering wheel. So you still have good adjustment for how you can move things around, but I have seen when they had the Toyota Venza before, that was a vehicle that you could get the powered steering wheel. And in my opinion, when you're paying this much for a car and you're getting all the rest of these standard features here, that you should probably have a power assisted steering wheel as well. That's just me. All right, so let's hear it. 2025 Crown Signia. This is my first time being in one. And overall, I really love the car. I think it's a really impressive car. I love the space. I love how it drives. I love the efficiency, you know, the fuel economy, the power. It's honestly hitting all the marks. I am a guy that isn't necessarily infatuated with the idea of having to have an SUV, where maybe this can kind of get away as being a crossover for the marketing for people that just need to hear that they're driving an SUV, because it is all-wheel drive and everything. It does have good ground clearance and everything there. It's gonna be totally fine in all weather conditions, but if we consider this a station wagon, and a really good one at that, I think it's gonna earn a lot more points versus being sacrificed by being classified as an SUV when it's truly not. But I think it's great. I think it's overpriced, but I still think it's great. I think it's gonna take a while for us to really sell these. We've already sold one. This is only our second one. And the first one only lasted a couple days. So maybe I'll be wrong about that. Now that the Crown has been out for about a year or so, maybe close to 2 years now, maybe that's gonna help out since the name has been out there. But it's gonna be kind of confusing because this doesn't say Signia anywhere on it. So if you're just like seeing this in a parking lot and you don't know what it is, you're gonna have a hard time finding out exactly what it is without doing some deep dives on the Google search. But as always, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. The comment section is probably my favorite place to kind of hang out and hear from everybody and what you think. A lot of people have to put Toyota on blast for decisions that are made. I'm totally here for it. I love listening to it, and I probably agree with a lot of you guys. But as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.